Hey everyone, my name is Kretz and this is the continuation of the previous video about this little Canon EOS RP. In that video I've told you that recently I've purchased this camera for myself. I bought it used, but it was looking like brand new, like really, not a scratch, not even any kind of dust or whatever. Absolutely looking like a new from the store. But it had some malfunction that I have never seen before in any camera, and about 30, maybe 40 cameras passed through my hands and I've never seen it. But the full story and what's the malfunction, what the problem was, you can see in the previous video. And now we were discussing with the seller, with the girl from who I purchased this camera, that if the repair cost is going to be low, then we could share it. And if it's gonna be a big price to repair this camera, then well, we'll probably exchange back. She'll return me my money and I'll return her the camera, because it still can be used, but you have to do, you know, little tricks around that for operation. But then, of course, I brought it to the service, where there's that old man with whom I'm cooperating for about 5 years now, and I you know, can rely on him. He helped me to repair a lot of lenses and different cameras, so he's a reliable guy, and I trust him. And I brought him the camera and I showed him the problem, and he said there could be just a couple of versions what could happen to that. And he said that it's either the broken button, you know, the shutter button, or the motherboard can be also broken, which is inside of the camera, and that's a very expensive repair and replacement, and it's just not reasonable to repair it in that case, because all the other functions are intact in this camera. So I left the camera to him at his, you know, service room for a week, and then he sent me a message: I cannot help you, please come and get back your camera. Well, I arrived later and he said, yes, it's not the button, it's the motherboard. And how did he know that? It's easy. He just took the properly working RP, and he grabbed the upper panel of my RP and replaced it with the, you know, properly working RP. And that camera, that hybrid camera, worked properly, normally. And on the other hand, he took the button and the upper panel from the properly working RP, separate RP, and he attached it to my RP, and it did not work. It was the same malfunction. So this exchange actually means that the button is all right, but the problem is in the side of the camera. So his conclusion was that this is the motherboard, and it's not reasonable to spend so much money to replace it in such an inexpensive camera as RP. So I took the camera from him. Luckily the diagnostics was for free. I didn't have to pay him anything, but I returned home and I typed the message to the seller stating her, you know, what's going on. And I said that, you know, I was purchasing for the full money the properly operating camera, and now it's not, and I cannot repair it. It's not possible. So we started negotiating, because she said, you've already spent 3 weeks with the camera. It's more used than it was, so it's not a full price. And I said, but on the other hand, I spent a couple of days, you know, to bring the money to the camera to service, and then the other day driving there to get it back. And I spent money for the road, you know, for the food while I was there, because it's not close to my town. I had to spend about half a day to get to that, you know, service. And so, we have, you know, the paperwork from the master, from the serviceman, who states the problem. So now you have an official, you know, kind of like document proving what's wrong with the camera. So it's kind of like compensates the 3 weeks, you know. And one of 3 weeks the camera was actually at the service. I was not possessing it. So we negotiated, and we finalized our deal with her returning me a little bit of money. We negotiated the amount, and so she returned me some money, and instead of exchanging fully back. So I left the camera for myself, and she's satisfied. So I bought it cheaper than it actually costs these days, but with a little bit of malfunction. But still, what's the malfunction I've showed you in the previous video? But now let me show you why it's not so convenient. Let's turn the camera on and have two screens here. So what is the problem? Well, I hope you've seen the previous video, so you know that I had to, let's get to the menu, I had to reassign this button, the AF on button. Well, it's maybe the default state, but still, there are a lot of functions that can be assigned, but I assigned autofocus. So with the AF on button, I can now, you know, focus. It's all right, it's tracking, either one shot, it doesn't matter. But to fully operate the system, I also reassigned the asterisk button to switch between one shot and servo. So it's the fastest way. These are very closely located buttons here. But we also have the autofocus at the half shutter. Well, we actually we're supposed to have it there, but we can actually leave only the exposure metering there without autofocus. But if I do that, and there's a thing that you might not know, you might be using it for years, but you don't know that that's official actually. And I was doing the same thing. I was using this function, but I never knew that it's really Canon official function. And it's stated in their, you know, instruction manual, and that is how you leave the menu, any state of the camera, like menu, and you jump to the shooting mode, and that is with the half shutter press. So if I half shutter the button, you know, the shutter button, you see I leave the menu, but at the same time, you've just heard I've taken the shot, so I leave the menu, but the camera takes shot. And how's that? And that is the same malfunction, but why it is so, you know, obvious? Because I got rid of the autofocus here, so the camera knows that it does not have to autofocus, and the next function after autofocus is taking the picture. So no autofocus, so I can take a picture immediately. And while it's malfunctioning, that's what's happening. Sorry, the time is up. Time is here, very brief. Power saving. Let's switch it for a second. So, and how I avoid that? Well, it's actually easier. I should get back the autofocus to the half shutter. And thus, while you're trying to leave the menu and press it half the way, then the camera leaves the menu, but it does not manage to start autofocus and especially taking a shot. So now I can move across menu, press half shutter, but I should not be holding the button. But in this case, at least it doesn't take a picture every time I leave the menu. But as you've seen, by default with this malfunction, every time you leave menu for the shooting mode, you're going to be taking a shot. And thus it's inconvenient, it's the noise, and it's obviously the shutter count raises just without any reason. So that's how things are, and that's how things are going. So I actually received the camera for a lower price than they are actually on the market these days, but with a little bit of a malfunction, which I can go around with using the AF on button. And so, well, I'm pretty happy. I actually bought really new camera with a little bit of malfunction for the low price actually. And I found a lot of interesting things in these RP camera. If you're interested, I'll tell you more about that. I've done the review of this camera years ago, but now I found some new features, some interesting features, and since I purchased the camera, I've already brought it back from the service. I actually managed to have few photo shoots, so I now know how it works, like in hands on the plein air. And if you're interested, leave a comment down below. I can shoot a separate video for you, or we can hold a live stream actually with live demonstration of the pictures and the functioning of the camera or whatever, and talking to you like directly in a live stream. So until then, Paul Kretz was here with you. Please subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, press like button, and I'll see you in other videos. Or maybe not. It's up to you.